Call to order the September 26th meeting of the Cary Town Council. And at this time, I would ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now move to recognitions, reports, and presentations. It is my pleasure to invite Doug McRaney to the podium to join me for the presentation of the Order of the Longleaf Pine. Miss you, Doug.
I miss everyone too, but not working.
Doug has served our community for more than a decade, more than 2 decades, almost 3 decades.
2.5.
2.5. During his tenure in the Parks and Rec, he drove us all the way to #1. We received the Gold Medal Award, and I was very proud of that. I'm pretty sure you're proud of that as well.
A little.
A little. So we're so very proud of that, and I want to read a proclamation first to honor you for all that you did and all the years that you served us. Whereas Doug McRaney, after more than 26 years of exemplary service, retired from the town of Cary at the end of June, having dedicated his career to transforming Cary's public spaces and the quality of life for its residents. And whereas Doug's vision, leadership, and passion have contributed to the expansion of Cary's greenways from 10 to nearly 100 miles, and he has overseen the development of countless parks and recreational venues, including the creation of the downtown Cary Park, Mills Park, the Walnut Street Park, and that's just naming a few. And whereas, through his efforts, Doug has helped make Cary a gold medal community, fostering a nationally recognized Parks and Recreation Department that prioritizes excellence in design, connectivity, and accessibility for all. And whereas, Doug has also been instrumental in establishing Cary as a hub for amateur sports, leveraging partnerships and grants to bring world-class venues like USA Baseball National Training Complex and the Cary Tennis Park to our community. And whereas Doug's tireless dedication to Cary has extended beyond infrastructure to include the nurturing of Cary staff and citizens, fostering a culture of community involvement, leadership, and collaboration throughout his tenure. And whereas Doug's contributions will leave a lasting legacy in the town of Cary, from the lush greenways connecting our neighborhoods to the vibrant cultural and sports events that have enriched our lives of residents and visitors alike. Now, therefore, I, Harold Weinbrecht Jr., Mayor of the town of Cary, on behalf of the entire Cary Town Council, do hereby extend our personal congratulations and appreciations for the service that Doug McRaney has provided the Cary community, and extend our personal best wishes on his retirement, proclaimed this 26th day of September 2024. Now, we got more. We got more. Before I let him talk, we got more. So it's not enough to just give you the proclamation, which is kind of the highest award we can give. The state wants to also give you the highest award. And if you're not familiar with the Order of the Longleaf Pine, it started in 1963, where North Carolina governors reserved this as their highest honor, called the Order of the Longleaf Pine, for individuals who have made significant contributions to the state and their communities through exemplary service and exceptional accomplishments. And so with that, it is my pleasure and honor to present you with this esteemed award, knowing that you represent Cary and will represent Cary with the highest honors. Doug, congratulations. Order of the Longleaf Pine. Gotta be somebody taking a photo. All right, council wants a photo. We're not done. All right, Doug, all yours.
Mayor, Council, thank you. I just have a few brief comments. I did want to say, I remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Karen Mills had received this, and I was sitting there with the directors, and I remember she gave an off-the-cuff or ad-lib speech, and I was very impressed. I thought it was incredible, and I had 2 thoughts, and I thought, well, you'll never give that good of a speech. And then it occurred to me I would never see her this award, so it wasn't an issue. But here I am, and all kidding aside, first and foremost, deeply honored to receive this award. This recognition leaves me humbled and grateful beyond words. I've always believed that no one achieves anything great alone, and this honor reflects not just my efforts, but contributions of so many people alongside me, from colleagues, mentors, friends, family. Each of you has played a role in making this journey possible. Cary has a place of deep meaning for me from the first day of my family's arrival here, and it's an incredible community and has continually inspired my work, and I am proud to call it home, as is our family. Service has always been a guiding principle in my life, whether it's contributing to the betterment of the community and or fostering collaboration, and I've learned that the true measure of success is the positive impact that we leave behind. I want to thank everyone who has supported me along this way, particularly all of you who made all this possible with your support, not just of the work that I've done, but the work that all the staff has done. I wanted to thank Sean and all the assistant directors, mayor, council, my fellow staff, and fellow directors. I will cherish this award and save it as a reminder of the values that make Cary great, which is spirit of community, embrace of excellence, and service to others. Thank you, and I wish Cary continued success in the future. God bless.
That's the fun part of my job. And Doug, if you want to just do old times, you can stay the whole meeting. All right, we now move, oh, we don't have a manager's report. Okay. We now move to Public Speaks Out. We've included instructions for speaking at this forum online and on the printed agenda. There are 3 opportunities to participate in Public Speaks Out. You can do it through written comments, by calling in, or attending here in person tonight. And if you're here in person tonight and would like to speak, I would ask you to take your seats in the rows to my right that are highlighted. Public Speaks Out speakers have 3 minutes each for their comments, and speakers may speak on any topic as long as it's not a public hearing, and that works to your benefit. Excuse me, you get more time at a public hearing. There's a 3-minute time limit that will be enforced, not to be rude, but to be fair to all of our speakers. There's a timer on the podium. It'll start off with a green light. When it turns yellow, that's to remind you that you have 30 seconds remaining. And when it starts flashing red, that's the point I'm going to interrupt you. Again, not to be rude, but to be fair to all of our speakers. I thank everyone in advance for understanding that this is a business meeting. Please understand this and respect that this is a business meeting. Do not applaud, make remarks from your seats, or do anything that may interrupt or distract from the meeting. So now is the time for Public Speaks Out. And I'll first call on the town clerk to read any written comments and call on any registered speakers.
And 3 registered speakers. Derek Effred expresses gratitude to the council for providing opportunities for citizen feedback on the Bond Lake Dam and Crabtree Creek watershed project. He highlights a preference for alternative D while emphasizing the need for transparency and discussing possible solutions. He also raised questions regarding potential drainage solutions and requested to be included in further discussions. We had 3 registered speakers. The first speaker is Lynn Yango.
Good evening, and thanks for letting me have this moment to talk to you. I was unable to join you a couple of weeks ago when the property that I own was discussion for rezoning. So I wanted to just give a little bit of a history and maybe some background and offer some comments about it. I was able to hear the conversation, and it feels like a little extra would be helpful. So first off, let me just tell you about our Wellingborough subdivision. Our HOA has been around since the mid-'80s, and I moved in there as the second house on West Kirkfield Drive in 1987. And I also worked with the developers as they transitioned it to an HOA, so I was on one of the first HOA boards. And our community today has over 250 families. We have a great swim team, the Wahoos, and we have an ongoing pickleball tournament now. It's taken over all of our tennis courts. We have a community garden that often has too much zucchini. Please come by on Saturday afternoons when they try to distribute that. And we have a great social environment. We're going to have, for the October holiday, a Halloween haunting in one of our neighborhood woods. So our community is very close-knit, and we're very together. And some of you on council, if you've been here for a while, might know us to have a bit of a reputation. And so when this property became available to purchase, I purchased it because it previously was zoned for daycare. Now, when I moved there in 1987, I was excited to have the property owner that designated 1.08 acres on the corner of the property to be a daycare. I hadn't had children yet, but then I had 2, and still no daycare, and then they went to school, and then they graduated from college, and now they've both moved somewhere else, although one is here in Cary. But we have plenty of kids in the neighborhood, and so when someone bought that property after the owner passed away, and they wanted to rezone it retail, everyone was a little unhappy about that. Not the least of which is they were hoping for a daycare, but the second was just simply that it didn't fit into the neighborhood. So 3 years ago, that would have been September of 2021, it was here, and you all voted unanimously not to rezone it. And Mayor, you had said, if in a year this hasn't been done with, we'll come back and rezone it then. Well, I picked it up after that, and we tried to make a daycare out of it. Literally worked for 15 months. I spent over $50,000, and I had a lot of effort trying to make that happen. Couldn't make it happen, so we went and looked for something else. This is where the community came together, and I worked with them to figure out what to do with it. So the community has been involved in this process for 2 years, and they've decided that homes are the best fit for us, and they would love to have townhomes that joined their HOA. So there's a committee as part of the HOA board that is looking at how we bring them into our community completely. So I can't imagine a better way to solve this, and we're all very excited to have that. So I hope that makes sense to you all and that you approve our zoning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Swayam Shah.
Good evening, Mayor Weinbrett, Cary's respected council members, and my fellow citizens. My name is Ponchal Aaron, and I am a 16-year-old student, an 11th grader attending Green Level High School in West Cary. I'm proud to say that I've been a Cary citizen for almost 14 years now, and I'm here today with my childhood best friend, Swayam Shah, who I've known since the 3rd grade. Firstly, I would like to thank Councilmember Bunsell right here and Town Clerk Miss Virginia Johnson for giving us the opportunity to speak here today. I've only attended one other council in July, which actually ended up finishing around 11 p.m. I'm sure you all remember that one. Fortunately, I'm back, but this time I'm speaking about an issue that's important to me. Swayam and I started off as 2 teenagers with a passion for teaching and helping others. We began by tutoring kids in our neighborhood, hoping to make a small difference while earning volunteering hours. But as we quickly learned, it wasn't easy to gather enough students. That's when we decided to take our efforts to the next level. We decided to found our own nonprofit organization called the Global Scholars Alliance, with a mission dedicated to providing free and nutritious student meals to WCPSS schools. Since then, I'm proud to say that our journey has been nothing short of remarkable. Throughout the past 10 months, GSA has grown from a simple idea to a fully established nonprofit organization. We got certified by the IRS, created our own website, gathered our social media presence, launched a successful GoFundMe campaign, and even formed a team of 8 student leaders. Through these efforts, we've managed to raise over $3,000, which has helped increase our reach and provide ample services to the local community. Before we dive deeper, I want to take a chance to introduce some of our student team members. I invite Bhavik Kanamuri to stand, our Toastmasters public speaking instructor. He is a current junior at Enloe High School and a state-level award-winning debater. Siddharth Chakapalli, our competition math and SAT prep instructor. He is a current junior at Green Hope High School and a perfect scorer on the SAT, a 1600.
Ooh.
Here's Yasaswini Vadrevu, a website development intern. She is a current junior at Green Level High School and an experienced computer scientist dedicated to using her skills for the betterment of our community. We would also like to introduce Rahul Bhargava, a website development intern who unfortunately wasn't able to make it today. He is a current sophomore at Enloe Magnet High School and scored first place at the Lenovo Programming Challenge. And finally, last but not least, Adi Lad is a marketing intern who also wasn't able to make it today, but he is a current sophomore at Enloe High School and a first place level state winner and national qualifier of the DECA business competition. Now I will pass it off to Swayam.
Hello, everyone.
Could you move to the left?
Okay.
There are these guys upstairs, and they'll freak out if you're speaking out of that. Perfect, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Swayam Shah, and I've been living here in Cary for the past decade. As an organization, one of our proudest accomplishments is our partnership with Davis Drive Middle School, where we tutored their Math Counts and Science Bowl team. Our students excelled beyond our expectations. In March, the Science Bowl team placed 3rd at the national level, and one of our Math Count students placed 3rd at the state countdown round. But we are not just about tutoring. Recently, GSA has shifted its mission to focus on something even more closer to our hearts, providing free and nutritious meals to WCPSS students. How many of you in the audience have eaten at a school cafeteria in the past month? Now, we invite you, Mayor Weinbrett and the respected council members, to raise your hands if you have eaten at a school cafeteria in the past month. Exactly. Not all adults, especially those who control the education system, are able to experience the problems with school meals present in WCPSS. And that's why Pancho and I took the initiative to be able to solve this problem as teenagers who regularly eat at the school cafeteria. We believe that no student should have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, and we are working hard to make this initiative a reality. Through a strong relationship with Councilmember Sarka Bansal right here, we were able to meet Lindsay Mahafe, a WCPSS school board member who helped us research our cause and learn more. From a conversation with Mrs. Mahafe, we learned that a quality education is fueled by nutritious meals, something that not all students are able to access every day. We learned that it takes about $2 to sponsor one meal, and as our organization has raised over $3,000, we can currently sponsor over 1,500 meals. We are looking to grow this number to be able to sponsor 5,000 student meals by the end of 2024. This is an ambitious goal, but we believe it's feasible with your support. Throughout the past month, we've been working with Josh Stein, the current Attorney General, and also the nominee for governor in NC, as well as the Vice President of the NCAIA, North Carolina Association of Indian Americans. Both have expressed their support for our mission. As well as that, we've already begun to reach out to businesses for partnerships, and today we are here to formally request the Town of Cary's support in donating to our cause. We are formally requesting the Town of Cary to support our mission by donating $10,000 to go to free meals for WCPSS students. Our team wants to ensure that our fellow WCPSS students can attend school knowing that they will be able to eat a healthy meal each and every day. We know that with the support of the Town of Cary and the wonderful people here, we can make a lasting impact in our community. Thank you all for your time and for giving us this incredible opportunity to speak to you guys today.
Thank you.
That's all our registered speakers.
If you're in the audience and would like to speak at Public Speaks Out, this is your opportunity. Anyone to speak at Public Speaks Out? Seeing no one, will close Public Speaks Out and move to the consent agenda. For the benefit of people watching our meeting, streaming or on TV, I'll take a moment to review the consent agenda items. Please keep in mind, one vote approves all of these items. On the consent agenda, we have call for a public hearing for 23A04 courtyards at White Oak. Adoption of revised public records policy. Would council members like either of these pulled for discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Or not
Second.
approve. There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Boy, was that leading? What? Sorry about that. Okay, we now move to public hearings. Same rules apply for public hearings that apply for Public Speaks Out with one exception. Speakers now have 5 minutes each for their comments. Our first and only, our first public hearing is 23 RZ03 Courtyards at White Oak. Assistant Town Manager Scott Berry will introduce the presenter for the item, and the council will not take action on this rezoning tonight. It will be referred to our Planning and Zoning Board for their review and recommendation and return to council at a future date. Mr. Berry, and I see you have company.
I do have company. Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm up here. So good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to be here tonight to introduce Rachel Smith.
Hi, Rachel.
Rachel's been here about 6 months with the Town of Cary. She's a principal planner. This will be her first presentation to this council. She has about 17 years of planning experience, came from the city of Raleigh, lives in downtown Cary. So we're excited to have her join Katie's team and to present to you tonight. After the public hearing, Aaron will join her at the podium to answer y'all's questions.
Wow, two good moves, working at Cary and living in Cary.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Are you ready for me?
Yes.
All right. Well, good evening, Council. This is a rezoning request for approximately 71.66 acres in western Cary, located just to the east of the Chatham County line. The site is located south of Pine Rail Lane and east of Bachelor Road and Naughty Oaks Drive. The four parcel assemblage is approximately 4/10 of a mile north of Green Level West Road and approximately 600 feet to the east of the American Tobacco Trail. To add context, other recent developments in the vicinity include the Shadow Creek and Providence at Yates Store subdivision. On the north side of the Green Level West Road and just to the south of the subject site, the Green Level Trail development is presently under construction with a mix of 203 detached dwellings and townhomes. To the south of Green Level West Road are neighborhoods under Apex's jurisdiction. According to Cary's GIS data, portions of the site may be impacted by stream buffers. Field determination of such features is required at the time of development plan review. On the western boundary of the site, Bachelor Road is presently a 2-lane local roadway in unincorporated Wake County. When looking at the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Master Plan, we note that Jacobs Pond Greenway corridor extends along the northern border of the site, and the Jacobs Creek Greenway corridor extends along the southern border of the site. A greenway easement will be required for both trails at the time of development plan submittal. A segment of the Jacobs Creek Greenway connecting to the American Tobacco Trail is being constructed by the developer of the Green Level Trail development on the southern border of the site. I'm a little bit out of order. Okay. There we go. On the western boundary of the site, Bachelor Road is presently a 2-lane local roadway in unincorporated Wake County. No curb and gutter, nor bicycle or pedestrian facilities exist. The future cross-section would call for curb, gutter, and 5-foot sidewalk on at least one side of the roadway. Just to the south of the site, Bachelor changes to a collector street classification. In terms of the Cary Community Plan's future roadway widths map, we see Jasper Olive, a proposed collector, on the southern boundary, and Yates Store Road is on the east side of the site as a proposed 4-lane divided thoroughfare with landscaped median. The courtyards at White Oak developer will be required to construct these roadways to serve their proposed 170 dwelling units. The developer of the Green Level Trail development is building the portions of Jasper Olive Road and Yates Store Road, which serve their development. Presently, there are approximately 44 dwelling units with singular access to Bachelor Road. Roughly half are detached dwellings in the Shadow Creek neighborhood located within the Cary corporate boundary. The rest are located in either Chatham or unincorporated Wake County. The LDO only permits 100 dwelling units with a singular point of access. A second point of access to a public street is required at the 101st dwelling unit. But beyond the necessity of a second point of access to allow for the permitting of the proposed 170 dwelling units under this rezoning request, the second point of access to Yates Store Road has critical considerations in terms of the timing of construction activities. The applicant has offered zoning conditions to address the phasing of construction and residential traffic. This is a view of the present state of construction of the Green Level Trail development. Here we are looking north at Yates Store Road from its intersection with Green Level West Road. There is no current or planned transit service in the immediate vicinity of the subject property. This is a view of the site looking northeast from Bachelor Road. Per the LDO, utility lines are required to be installed underground, except in situations where such placement is prohibited or deemed to be impractical. The power lines in question are roughly 500 linear feet. Detailed plans for utility installation will be prepared during the development review process in coordination with Duke Energy. In terms of the existing zoning, the two southernmost parcels are located outside of Cary's corporate limits, with a Wake County zoning of R40 watershed. An annexation petition has been submitted for the Wake County parcels. The public hearing is anticipated to be held in October. The decision on the annexation will be deferred until the rezoning request comes back to the council for a final decision. The two northernmost parcels were annexed and zoned Cary R40 CU in 2016 with a condition limiting uses to detached dwellings. No development has occurred on these parcels since 2016. In terms of the rezoning, the applicant is proposing to zone the entirety of the site Transitional Residential Conditional Use, or TRCU. This will be via the application of initial Town of Cary zoning for the southern two parcels and a rezoning action for the northern two parcels. The proposed zoning conditions include limiting the use to detached dwellings, townhomes, and neighborhood recreation, with a maximum of 170 dwelling units. A maximum of 140 may be detached dwelling units. While there is no maximum on the number of townhouse dwelling units, the concept plan depicts the majority of the site with area designated for detached units. All lots will be deed restricted, with 80% housing a person at least age 55. The minimum lot size for detached dwellings is 6,000 square feet, which is 1,000 square feet more than the LDO requires for the TR zoning district. And the townhouse lots will be at least 28 feet in width, which is 8 feet wider than the LDO would require. All units will be pre-wired for electric vehicle charging. The minimum community gathering area will be at least 20,000 square feet. This is 4 times larger than the LDO requires. The zoning conditions also include the provision of a concept plan which shows the approximate location of dwelling units by type, as well as amenity areas and open space. The exact locations of these uses will be finalized during development plan review and will be substantially similar to what is shown on the concept plan. The yellow color depicts the locations of the detached dwellings, and the peach color depicts the townhouse pocket. The concept plan shows the LDO required Type A streetscape buffer for Jasper Olive Road of 30 feet and the 50-foot Type A buffer required for Yates Store Road. No additional streetscape buffer width is offered. Additionally, while the courtyards at White Oak Development is under construction, the zoning conditions propose the phasing of traffic. Bachelor Road may be used for initial site construction for the entirety of the site. This may include grading, road construction, and the installation of utility infrastructure. Bachelor Road may also be used for the construction of the first 50 homes. Then, barriers will be erected, preventing access to Bachelor Road. This will direct subsequent home building construction, as well as household traffic, to the extension of Yates Store Road, while most of the homes are under construction. After the 150th home is built, the barriers will be removed, allowing for access on all roadways. Staff has evaluated the requested rezoning against the Imagine Cary community plan. First, we note the site is located within the green level special planning area. The special planning area is described within the Imagine Cary community plan as beginning the gradual transition in density moving west from NC 540 towards the Chatham County line. The plan created sub-area designations within the plan with Flat Branch, which is a stream and floodplain area, serving as a natural boundary bisecting the special planning area. This site, which is shown by a blue star, is located in the neighborhoods west of Flat Branch sub-area. Policy guidance provided within the plan for neighborhoods west of Flat Branch include the following. First, at build-out, the aggregate max density of the area should be about 2.5 dwelling units per acre. Development should be shielded from thoroughfares and the American Tobacco Trail. Context-sensitive and historically sensitive design should preserve green level's character. To support this, the predominant land use should be detached dwellings on lot sizes of 1/4 acre or more, with smaller lot sizes possible in clustered subdivisions that preserve ample open space. Limited pockets of townhouses are appropriate if shielded from view. Diving deeper, we note that policies for land use transitions and open space are applicable. The proposed rezoning represents dwelling types and densities similar to other nearby developments in the green level west of Flat Branch area and are keeping with the densities and use recommended by the special planning area. The courtyards at White Oak site is 2.37 dwellings per acre, which meets the density intent for the sub-area. The proposed townhomes are shown on the concept plan in a limited pocket location. There are some assurances that clustering of development will occur to offset the smaller lots due to the additional acreage devoted to open space and community gathering area. Buffers adjacent to collectors and thoroughfares, especially in the vicinity of the townhouse pocket, are additional options to meet this policy. When looking at the Live chapter, we note the plan encourages the development of a mix of housing types in Cary to serve a variety of demographics. The plan specifically highlights the importance of housing that addresses the lifestyle of seniors in the community. This proposal may directly address these policies with the 55 and older age restriction on 80% of all units, and by creating a product that responds to the needs of a senior community. Additionally, the inclusion of both townhomes and detached dwellings may help to provide a variety of housing stock in a developing part of Cary, providing residents looking to live in the area more opportunities and options to do so in either a single-family home or a townhouse. When looking at the Shape chapter, we note the plan describes the provision of appropriate transitions between land uses via use mix, design, and buffers, and for maintaining an attractive appearance and quality of development. For this rezoning, we note that the concept plan allocates detached dwellings in areas of the site which abut existing detached dwellings, with the townhouse use located at the intersection of 2 major roads. Additionally, we note that wider townhouse lots and the condition offering additional community gathering space will also contribute to this policy. When looking at the Serve chapter, we note the proposed rezoning would pre-wire all units for electric vehicle charging. When looking at the Move chapter, we note an emphasis on policies to ensure safety for all users and modes and context-sensitive design. Staff has concerns about the timing of this rezoning until Yates Store Road and Jasper Olive Road are available to the site to handle the construction traffic. The impacts of construction traffic have been cited as a concern by neighbors. While the applicant offers zoning conditions to limit access to Bachelor Road after the construction associated with the first 50 homes, the initial site construction trucks and machinery may use Bachelor Road before Yates Store Road is extended to the site. Once the alternatives to Bachelor Road, Yates Store Road, and Jasper Olive Road are available for construction traffic, this concern will be largely mitigated. A neighborhood meeting was held on June 7th of 2023. There were 31 attendees. Questions and concerns expressed at the meeting included construction traffic and the current traffic load on Bachelor Road, connections to nearby trail spaces, stormwater control issues, buffers on the property, a desire to maintain the rural feel along Bachelor Road, the general program and price of the proposed homes, and possible impacts on existing wildlife. We've received a consistent level of questions and concerns regarding this proposal since the neighborhood meeting. There have been 1 call and 3 emails following the posting of the public hearing sign. Concerns were related to the impacts of construction traffic on Bachelor Road, as well as additional residential traffic and general traffic calming and safety concerns. Staff mailed notice of the public hearing to property owners within 800 feet of the subject site. This exceeds state and Cary LDO requirements for notice, and staff posted signs on the subject site. This concludes my presentation. Jason Barron, the applicant's representative, is available to provide comments, and following the public hearing, myself and Aaron are available to answer your questions.
Thank you. This time I'll invite the applicant forward.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Jason Barron with Morningstar Law Group. Here on behalf of Epcon Communities, the applicant in this case, joining me tonight with Epcon are Tom Sawitsky, Mike Kipp, and Juan Montez. Also here is Glenda Top, who's working side saddle with me on this, and let's be honest, Glenda's probably doing all of the work on the case. I just get to stand up and present it. Staff's done a great job of presenting the case to you all, and I won't reiterate things that are included in your staff report as well as the presentation. I do want to highlight a handful of things, though. First of all, I always love standing up publicly representing Epcon. Epcon is a developer of senior communities in Western Wake County, especially in Cary, is a great applicant for me to be able to stand up in front of, especially folks like you all, because I know they're going to deliver high-quality senior communities. I know I'm preaching to the choir when I tell you the 55 and older community, the senior community is one of the fastest growing demographics in the town, if not the fastest growing demographic in the town. Especially in an area like this, it's important that we provide housing options for seniors. And make no mistake, this is a 55 and older community. This isn't a CCNR. This is an area where these will be active adults, but it will provide a housing option that we believe will allow folks who live in Western Cary currently to be able to age in place. So we think from a use standpoint, this is the right use in the right location. The density is consistent with what the Cary Community Plan would call for in this particular location. With respect to lot size, we recognize that the lots we're proposing are smaller than what the Cary Community Plan would contemplate. However, that's directly related to the demographic that will be living here. The seniors that move into the Epcon communities don't want the large lots. They want a smaller lot. It's easier to maintain. And so that is intentional. It's not a matter of trying to squeeze as much density as you can on the site. It's really a byproduct of the folks that they serve and the conditions that are associated with the case, especially related to things like increasing the community gathering area, are a demonstration to the fact that they're not just trying to squeeze as much as they can on the site. It's really a reflection of the folks that are ultimately going to be living in this community. The last point I want to make, and then I'll be looking forward to you all's feedback, relates to phasing of construction and traffic. We are sensitive to the fact that impacts associated with Bachelor Road are of significant import to the folks that live on Bachelor Road. If I lived on Bachelor Road, I would be concerned with any development of this site. And our conditions, I believe, are reflective of an applicant who is sensitive to those conditions. As you all are aware, this site is zoned in the county right now. It's 70+ acres zoned in the county. If for whatever reason this zoning case weren't successful and the owners decided, you know what, if we can't get Cary to approve a rezoning for an age-restricted community on this site, we probably can't get them to do anything. Maybe we should just develop in the county. My guess is they would be 40,000 square foot lots developed in the county well and septic. They'd be 5,000 square foot homes. There would be a lot more traffic generated by a 50-plus lot community on this site than the traffic that's going to be generated by our proposed condition, and that is until Yates Store Road is open, we are going to limit development of the site to 50 units. As you all know, this is expensive dirt. All of the land in Cary is expensive dirt. EPCON is confident that Yates Store Road will be open, and probably open pretty soon. You saw the picture that staff provided in the staff presentation. My client actually went out yesterday, and if the town clerk wouldn't mind passing these around, took 4 different pictures of the current state of Yates Store Road construction. I will tell you, I can't advise a client to offer a condition that says they can't have any access to the only access point that exists today. That would be pretty bad advice that I would provide to a client that would essentially landlock them until something happens that they can't control. However, they've limited it to 50 units. As you could probably imagine, the value of this dirt, what it's costing them to develop the site, is far in excess of what 50 homes represents. These pictures show you the current state of construction of Yates Store Road. The top right-hand corner is our property line. So that picture you see, as you can see, it's fine graded. My client, in kind of walking the site and based on their estimation, they would guesstimate that Yates Store Road will be completed within the next 3 months and that homes would be going up shortly thereafter. We don't know the exact timing of that. But I do want to impress upon you that from my client's perspective, Yates Store Road is going to be the front door to their community. They anticipate that when they go to develop their site, the construction traffic concerns related to using Bachelor will be alleviated because Yates Store Road is going to be the front door to the site. That's where the construction traffic is going to go. If Yates Store Road was open today, if we were having this conversation in January or February, I'm guessing the conversation would go a little bit different, and we could probably say, we're fine with the Yates Store Road, we won't have any impacts to Bachelor Road until the community is complete. So I just wanted you to be aware, we are sensitive, EPCON is very sensitive to the concerns associated with impacts on Bachelor Road. We think we're being responsible with those concerns by limiting development of the site to 50 units until Yates Store Road is open. As you all know, after the zoning, we're going to have probably a year's worth of permitting. So this whole Yates Store Road condition will be resolved before we ever start to move dirt on the site. So I just wanted to bring a little bit better information associated with those to let you know we take it seriously and we're doing what we can in a reasonable fashion to continue the case moving forward so we can develop the site. So with that, again, we think it's the right use in the right location. We think it's the right density. It's addressing a demographic in this part of the town that could use some more senior living opportunities. And so as we make our way through the process, we look forward to your feedback and ultimately would appreciate you all's approval of the case. Thank you all.
Thank you. So now's the time for the public hearing for 23 REZ03. Before I open the public hearing, I'll call on the town clerk for any written comments or call on any registered speakers.
We had 2 written comments, no registered speakers. Alt Mandela requested that the existing tree buffer be kept along Bachelor Road and that the houses not be put along the edge of Bachelor Road. Linda Donahue shares concerns about the current state of Bachelor Road. She mentions that 57 structures can be built before another outlet is required and notes that residents successfully petitioned to lower the speed limit to 25 miles per hour for safety, but many drivers do not comply, making the road unsafe for pedestrians.
Okay. If you're in the audience and would like to speak at this public hearing, now is your opportunity. Anyone to speak on this public hearing? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and I'll call staff back up for my questions and I'll open it up to my colleagues. So my first question is, there's no max on townhomes, there's no minimum on detached dwellings. We have a concept plan with detached dwellings and townhomes mapped out. How binding is that concept plan? Can I put all, or can the applicant put all townhomes there?
So the condition is that the concept plan at the time of development plan will be substantially followed.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I'm looking at the attorney now, help me out.
Signature grocery store.
So, well, right, so I believe staff has had some initial conversations with the applicant about perhaps putting some more numbers around minimums and maximums as this moves forward. I think that would be helpful. Based on the pictures, you can make some assumptions about the mix of detached and townhomes, but having additional clarity on that.
Yeah, we had
useful.
rezoning a month ago, two ago, and same sort of thing. We're like, what are we getting? We don't know what we're getting. And that's kind of where I am, especially if the concept plan is more or less not binding. So anyway, that's my first question, so I'd ask the applicant, where did Jason go? But please, give us something so we have a good idea. If you're that sure of it, please give us a minimum, and that would really help me. And the other, let's see, access. Yeah, I was a little bit confused about the Yates access. So Yates Store Road access. So my understanding from the pictures and what you said, it's built to the property line. Well, not built, it's gravelled or almost ready for asphalt or the first layer. And they anticipate it'll be open in 3 months. We won't even get through this process in 3 months, is my guess. So I'm really curious why we just don't have a condition that, hey, we'll just use Yates Store. I'm lost there. So that's my input there. I don't understand the timing there because it sounds like that's a no-brainer. If the road's going to open, just go ahead and do that and make this less complicated, unless I'm totally missing that.
I think that, yeah, that's an option for the applicant to consider.
Okay. And so I know you had questions as well. So.
I did. I have a question about Bachelor Road. Will the developer improve one half of Bachelor Road on its side for that?
Yes, they'll have to improve along their frontage.
Okay, all right, to our standards, not a rural feel or anything like that?
Correct.
Okay, all righty.
What, can we be really clear, to our standards, including sidewalk on that side and curb and gutter
Yeah,
on that side?
curb, gutter, and sidewalk?
It's a local street, so sidewalk is technically only required on one side. We would evaluate that at time of development plan.
I'd really love it if the sidewalk personally is on that side, because we don't know if and when there'll ever be development that'll improve it on that side. That, just some feedback for the applicant. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you said that. That's a very good point. Piggybacking on the mayor's comments, I'd like to see a minimum, let me say this, what would probably be better is to have a maximum on the number of townhomes, because you can always go fewer units. So a maximum number of townhomes so that we understand what that ratio is, or that split. I agree with Lori's comment about the sidewalk. What is the width of the buffer on Bachelor Road, and what is the width of the buffer along Yates Store?
So that's a great question. So Yates would have to be a 50-foot type A. Bachelor is a local road, so there is no requirement. The concept plan is showing 25 feet of buffer.
Okay, and it could be a type B buffer, doesn't have to be type A?
None is required.
Yeah.
None is required. Okay, that's great, that's great information. I would love it if we kind of buffered up that road a little bit more.
Buffered up.
That would be a preference of mine. I love EPCON. I love EPCON communities, but as we've said so many times, and Jason, you know what we're going to say, the zoning goes with the land, not with the applicant. So we need to make sure that we have good provisions in place, good conditions in place in case EPCON does not end up developing this and some other developer does. So I think that is all of my concerns. I do respect the concerns that people have about the houses being on the very edge of Bachelor Road. If you had some kind of setback for the houses, that might give some people some comfort.
Other questions?
I have a couple, but you hit two of them already. What is the long-term comprehensive transportation plan for Bachelor?
So south of the site, it's a collector. In the vicinity of this site, it is a local. It just ends at Green Level Trail, so that's the extent of it.
Okay, so it's a collector up until this site?
Up until this site.
Okay.
That's odd.
That, yeah, is that the The long-term plan?
Do we
mean
have
to do
other
that?
streets on our roadway widths map that do this? I think it's often because it's associated with the limits of our ETJ or with existing conditions. We could find out more about that and answer that more thoroughly.
I would like, personally, I would like to have some consistency and predictability with the road. I also know that green level name has had a lot of discussion at this table, but I think that's east of here, is that right? Or is this?
South.
No, I know it's south, green level is south, but is it also east of where we've been looking to change the name?
The road renaming project is to the east of this site.
It is to the east, okay. So I think that this just, not necessarily related to this, but this just furthers our need to go a little bit faster with that whole renaming project, especially as you get more and more people. The impact is much more significant. So I think there's a reason to maybe speed that work up as well.
Take it all the way.
Right, take it all, exactly, take it all the way. You've been good with those today. I haven't seen, or I don't remember seeing, the statement that was in the staff report of a provision of a concept plan to approximate the locations of dwelling type units. We often see the concept plan at the rezoning. It's not binding, but we often see it. So having a provision in something that we're not going to decide upon, I agree with both council member friends here, that it would be nice to have those numbers as part of that concept plan that's part of this rezoning. So just more feedback.
The concept plan is part of the rezoning. I think she's pulling up the picture now. So this is a condition of the rezoning, that they must substantially comply with the general layout of where the roads are, where the townhouses are, where the detached dwellings are. So this kind of gives you a overall picture.
Right, it has I guess the problem I'm having with it is the approximate the locations of dwelling types without numbers.
Right, right.
So I like the idea of knowing where the townhomes are going to be. I also am a big fan of the EPCOM developments as well, so this is more about protecting from the worst-case scenario that could ever happen.
I've always got questions, but I'm going to ask the dumb question. I think, what I don't want to do is imply that the tutoring I got from staff wasn't top-notch, because it was. But I'm a little confused as to how we're rezoning unincorporated Wake County land. And if I'm a little confused, I think I know the answer, but I'm not certain. I'm sure other people are confused. So I was hoping you could clarify that for me.
Sure, so the associated annexation petition for the 50 acres in unincorporated Wake County will have a public hearing at your next meeting, October 22nd.
I figured as much. And so typically, though, we kind of hear them together, right? And that's where I'm going, did I miss a rezoning? Or a annexation?
Yep.
And I just wasn't paying attention because I typically remember that. I appreciate that. That's helpful. I just want to confirm that, can you just define something for me? We frequently see pre-wiring for EV in the conditions. Can you tell me exactly what that means? I see it's said here for 60 amp, but can you just sort of, clarify for me what exactly that means?
Yes, so that means that they don't have to install the actual charging equipment, but the wiring would be a voltage that would support the EV charging. So an individual homeowner could then install the unit they need for their vehicle, and that would be in place.
So
Without requiring an electrician to come out
Right.
and lay the.
that's my question. I know I tried to put an EV charger on my house, and my wiring's great, but there wasn't enough. I needed to put in a new box, and that cost a whole bunch of money. So it does involve all the things to be able to plug and play and just, put the charger of your choice in there, and you're good to go at 60 amps, which is a Type 2 charger, correct?
I believe so, but I would have to double check on that.
Okay, I'm just not certain about amperage. Okay. I appreciate that. And is there, I know in the presentation, it seems like there's a few conditions that just weren't listed there. I wanted to just confirm then that the 50-unit limit of dwellings built before Yates Store Road is extended, that is an actual condition.
It is a written condition.
Okay, which they probably don't need, but it's there in case. And my assumption is that is because who knows when it comes to DOT work sometimes? Is that the reason for that, to make the neighbors feel a lot better about potential construction traffic?
So I think there are a lot of factors that go into the timing of roads being completed, and that may be one of them.
Yeah, thank you. And I know I'm new to you, Ms. Smith, but I always have tons of questions. This isn't because you didn't do a great job on the presentations. It's just, I've got to know all the things. But what I was kind of digging at was to see if there's any reason for us to believe that that extension of that road is going to be significantly delayed, and that's why it was included as a condition? Or we're just being real careful, because,
I will note that I don't have the same access to their property that they do to take the same pictures and understand the same level of construction.
it looks like it's pretty far along.
And I think Mr. Barron indicated that he's advised no one should put a condition on their property that says they can't access the one road that's currently built to their property line. So he can provide more context on that if you need it, but.
And that makes absolute sense. I wouldn't ask you to do that either. It would be strange, but including the 50-unit limit, I was just wondering if that's a written condition.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay, I'm satisfied. Thank you, I appreciate it.
How about this end? Questions?
So I think the concerns that I had, you've already addressed. I had a question about the maximum and the minimum, exactly the same situation where we dealt like a couple of months ago where we did not have the clarity. So having that clarity would be good. The sidewalk, definitely, you know, that's something that's that needs clarity. The traffic flow, the construction traffic, where will it flow? And I agree with the mayor that, you know, why not from Yates if it's going to be completed? So if that could be considered, that would be appreciated. I don't have any other concerns right now.
Anything else from this end?
The things that Councilmember Bonzel mentioned were on my list as well, and I would just like clarification that if, I'm like, what's the name of the road? Yates Pond, what?
Yates.
Yates Store Road. If that opens, then there would be no need to close the other road.
Bachelors. I promise I did not read your notes.
There's no way you could. Anybody other than me would not be able to read them.
Ms. Robinson?
Yeah, I wanted to just mention one thing. This is on topic and off topic. For years, we were under the impression that Wake County was not receptive to us extending our ETJ to the boundary line. And when we met with them 2 Thursdays ago, they said, oh yeah, we're totally open to that. You just need to ask. And we're like, really? Okay. I wasn't sure exactly what would be the purpose of us extending the ETJ since we're now so close to the border. But this is the type of example with Bachelor Road that illustrates to me that it probably is still worthwhile for us to request of Wake County the opportunity to have ETJ to its boundary line. So I'm just asking the planning staff to come back to us and give us the pros and cons of doing so and what it'll take and so forth.
I'd love to know the pros and cons of doing that too, just to learn.
Yeah.
Because it's, I mean, we've got a lot of borders,
Yeah.
right?
It's been a hot topic in the legislature, so we'll bring that perspective to you as well when we talk about it.
I don't have any other questions. I just quickly, Jack, do you have questions? I'm sorry. We're still in the question phase. I just had.
Enjoying it all.
Oh, I just wanted to make 2 comments. One, I'm just really pleased to see 55 and over community come in front of us. I think there's just a nonstop need for that. I think we'd have a hard time building too much age-restricted communities. You know, right now, we have quite a need for it. And the small lot sizes, I think that is, in this case, probably a really great idea if there's going to be a significant number of detached homes in this project to minimize the amount of yard maintenance and such that, you know, and stuff that people have to take care of that, you know, and they'd rather be doing other stuff in their, you know, hopefully retirement. So I just wanted to commend the applicant on that. I think it's desirable. I think it's something that folks are looking for. I think also, you know, as somebody who lives in an itty-bitty house on a giant lot, you know, my house would probably be appropriate for a senior, but my yard would be an absolute nightmare. So I often joke that I'm going to sell the outer edge, the outer 15 feet of my yard, as soon as I turn 65. So I think the lot size, I think, is appropriate for a project like this. I just wanted to share that.
I think one of the other thoughts, as you were mentioning the value of having an additional over 55 community, is it doesn't put the strain on the school system as well. And we hear a lot of that from residents in the area. There's a lot of schools that are capped.
So besides all of the other values of having an over 55 community, it helps us with that as well.
I'm glad you mentioned, I had that thought in my mind, I didn't say it out loud.
Any other thoughts, comments? This case will go to our Planning and Zoning Board and Advisory Board, where they will review how it matches the Cary Community Plan, and they will give us a recommendation. And that will occur in a month or two, and it will probably come back to us in 3 to 4 months, somewhere around there. Really not sure as we approach the end of the year. So if you're watching this and you still would like to speak and did not get the opportunity to speak here, and you could speak at every council meeting at Public Speaks Out as we move forward. So thank you, and very good report on your first time.
Thank you.
All right, we move to our second public hearing, 24-05 Wesley Manor. Principal Planner Aaron Puckett will introduce this item. Council will not take action. It will also be referred to the Planning and Zoning Board and will return to council at a future meeting. Ms. Puckett.
Thank you, and good evening, Council. This is a request to rezone approximately .7 acres located at the intersection of High House Road and Bay Oak Drive. I want to note that most of the rezoning requests that come before you are to increase the development intensity of the site and must submit development plans if the rezoning is approved. This case is unique in that an exempt subdivision will be possible, which would not be subject to Cary's development requirements. And I will provide more information on subdivision exemptions and how it impacts this case later in the presentation. The subject site is a vacant wooded lot located on the north side of High House Road between Northwest Maynard Road and Old Apex Road. There are nearby residential uses located to the north and south, and office and institutional uses along High House to the east and west. This is a view of High House Road looking east with the site on the left. There are overhead power lines along the property frontage on High House Road. Cary's GIS indicates the presence of a potential stream buffer impacting a large portion of the subject site. However, the applicant has obtained a letter from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality noting the stream is not subject to buffers. High House Road is designated as a 4-lane median divided thoroughfare on Cary's future roadway widths map, with sidewalk on the south side and street side trail on the north. Bay Oak Drive is a 2-lane local street that is built out to its ultimate cross-section. Go Cary routes 4 and 8 operate along the section of High House Road, with a bus stop approximately 130 feet away from the site. The Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Master Plan proposes a 10-foot wide street side trail along the property frontage. Now, having explained the site characteristics, I want to take a moment to explain how the subdivision exemption could apply to this site. North Carolina general statutes exempt certain divisions of land from subdivision requirements if they meet parameters related to size and the number of lots created. Due to the site's small size and the number of lots proposed, it would likely develop under this exemption. The reason this is important is the typical site development standards of the LDO would not be required. This includes buffers and streetscapes, right-of-way dedication, and road and pedestrian improvements. However, dimensional standards of the LDO, such as minimum lot size, setbacks, and height, would still apply. In this case, only those development standards offered by a zoning condition would apply if this rezoning is approved and the site develops under this exempt provision. Some of you may recall a similar rezoning request off of Morrisville Parkway adjacent to the American Tobacco Trail that was approved in 2020. In that case, the applicant offered many of the standard LDO requirements as conditions to ensure the development would be consistent with Cary's high standards for development. This site is currently zoned office and institutional conditional use per a rezoning approved in 1995. That rezoning limited use of the site to office, personal service establishment, club or lodge, religious assembly, daycare, nursing home, and a number of other civic and educational uses. Under the current zoning, the subdivision exemption would not apply. And the applicant proposes to rezone the site to residential 12 conditional use. The applicant's conditions include limiting the use to detached dwellings, and staff notes that the size of the site would allow for a maximum of 2 lots in this case. Restricting direct lot access to High House Road, This would require driveways to be located off of Bay Oak Drive. Installation of a high visibility crosswalk across Bay Oak Drive. Providing a 20-foot wide landscape area along the western property line, which could be located on the residential lots. And for comparison, the LDO requirement would be a 40-foot type A buffer for a residential use here. Providing a 50-foot landscape area planted to a type A standard along High House Road, also located on a residential lot. This would meet the required width and planting standard of the LDO for a streetscape, but would not be located in common area, as we typically see. And dedication of a 10-foot wide greenway easement along the site frontage for future street side trail construction by Cary. However, this is 10 to 15 feet narrower than is anticipated to be needed to construct that trail in the future. This slide compares the proposed conditions to what would otherwise be required if developed under the existing zoning today, which again is ONICU. First, it should be noted that plats for this property in 30-foot sewer easement along the northern property boundary. This easement is permitted to be located on the lots, but does otherwise limit the developable area. The applicant's proposed landscape areas, again, include a 50-foot width along High House Road and a 20-foot width along the western property line, where the site is adjacent to an office institutional parcel. The applicant has also offered a 10-foot easement along the site frontage for future street side trail. For comparison, LDO requirements would incur additional right-of-way dedication along High House Road. We don't know the exact number, but staff estimates this is likely about 5 feet of additional width at this location. A 30-foot streetscape is required for non-residential uses on thoroughfares, which would be applied to that new right-of-way line. A 20-foot Type B buffer to the west would be required, in addition to a 40-foot Type A buffer to the north and a 15-foot streetscape on Bay Oak Drive. And construction of a 10-foot wide street side trail, as well as a 5-foot wide sidewalk on Bay Oak Drive, would be required under the existing ONICU zoning. A preliminary analysis against the Imagine Cary Community Plan found that policies in the Live, Shape, Engage, Move, and Serve chapters apply. Regarding the Live chapter, the site could potentially be supported by the policy regarding residential infill, given its small size and the fact that it is bordered by existing office and institutional, as well as residential uses. Regarding the Shape chapter, the proposed residential lots could make a reasonable use transition between office and institutional zoning and nearby detached residential development. The buffer transition to adjacent office and institutional uses is less than the LDO would otherwise require for a detached residential use. And similarly, reduced buffers are not clearly supported by the policy, noting the importance of high quality and visually appealing development. In addition, the buffers also relate to the Serve policy regarding preservation and replacement of tree canopy. In this case, fewer trees would be preserved or planted on site than what would otherwise be required by the LDO. The proposed rezoning struggles most in meeting the Engage chapter policy regarding greenway provision, as the proposal would only dedicate 10 feet of easement width for future construction of street side trail. Cary would likely need about 20 to 25 feet to construct the trail, so staff cannot verify that construction would be feasible with this limited width. And regarding the Move chapter, the proposal does not provide the additional right-of-way dedication along High House Road, but does commit to provision of a crosswalk on Bay Oak. The Future Growth Framework designates the site as being in a heritage neighborhood where a variety of housing types are supported. Detached dwellings are recognized as an appropriate use in these areas. A neighborhood meeting for this request was held in April, and 6 citizens participated. There were no questions or any concerns raised. And since that time, staff received 4 emails and 1 written letter expressing general support for the rezoning. Notice of the public hearing was mailed to property owners within 800 feet, which exceeds the state's and Cary's LDO requirements, and signs were posted on the subject site. This concludes my presentation. The applicant's representative, Tamara Bowles, is here to provide comments, and then following the hearing, I'm available for questions.
Thank you. I would invite the applicant forward at this time. Yes, thanks.
All right. Good evening, Town of Cary members, Mayor Harold Weinbrecht, and guests in attendance. So my name is Tamara Bowles. I'm a Cary resident, attorney, and I am the Vice President of Evanstone's Enterprises, LLC. On behalf of the business, I come before you as a representative of the applicant to implore you to approve the rezoning request for R24 REZ05 from O&I to R12 conditional. First, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I stand before you as an advocate for vital change in our community. A proposal to rezone this vacant lot from office and institutional to residential conditional. From the Cary website, we describe our community as a people-first philosophy with values that encourage collaboration, experimentation, learning, adaptation, while seizing opportunities to continue making Cary a place of inspiration and possibility. Well, since Evanstone Enterprises has owned this Wesley Manor property since 1992, we've attempted to market this property with 3 different real estate firms. We proposed designs for an office building 6,000 square feet with no success. The current LDO severely restricts what we can do. We need the parcel rezoned. Now we've shifted our plans to propose a residential home to address a growing need for housing that accommodates diverse living situations, especially for those who require additional support. By transforming this space into 2 thoughtfully designed homes, we can create a supportive community that directly addresses the unique challenges faced by those residents. Families with children with disabilities often seek environments that are not only accessible but also inclusive, providing them with resources and community support. Unfortunately, my neighbor, Robert Longo, couldn't be here tonight with the hurricane in his area, but he had come to plan to share with you how Evanstone built his home here in Cary for his disabled daughter. It is the exact same design that happens to be one of the designs for this project, and that home happens to live right across the street from where I live here in Cary. Moreover, our senior population deserves a living space that allows them to maintain their independence while remaining close to their families. These homes will foster intergenerational connections, enriching our community as a whole. With an open and very transparent communication to the surrounding communities, including sharing pamphlets with our building plans with pictures that we sent back in May this year, we have the community support to rezone this property to our RC12 conditional. This is evidenced by a letter of support from Wang Yang, property manager at 232 High House, that's immediately adjacent to Wesley Manor. I believe that letter will be read into the record later on. Tonight we have present Jackie Lee, who lives on the north side of 520 Bay Oak Drive, along with her sister, also living in the adjacent property next, and they are here tonight. I would ask them to stand right there or wave. There they go. And you will hear from them later tonight. I would highlight from Dr. Wang's letter that he sent to the town of Cary back in May 14th that he supported and approved the rezoning application, and he also approved the location of the buffers as well as the home that's been proposed. This rezoning aligns with our city's commitment to inclusivity and diversity. By approving this request, we are taking a meaningful step towards ensuring that everyone, regardless of their circumstances, has a place to call home. The homes that are planned and designed are going to be designed so that one family could have a home to care for a disabled family member or perhaps have an aging parent live with them. Regardless of their circumstances, we want them to call Cary home. Furthermore, we see that this development will bring economic benefits, increasing property values and enhancing the appeal of our Evans family historical land. You'll hear more about that in just a moment. I urge you to consider the profound impact this decision can have on our community, because together I think we can turn this into a reality that reflects the values of compassion, inclusivity, and support for our most vulnerable residents. The last speaker that you will hear tonight, George Bailey, president of Evanstone Enterprises, is also available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So now is the time for the public hearing for 24 REZ05, and first I'll call on the clerk to read any written comments and call on any registered speakers.
We have no written comments and 5 registered speakers. Tanya Alexander is our first registered speaker.
And who's following her?
Following by Jackie Lee.
Good evening.
Town of Cary members, Mayor Weinbrett, and guests in attendance. My name is Tanya Bailey Alexander, and I'm the daughter of George Bailey, the applicant, and a current resident of Cary and a local engineer. On behalf of the Bailey and Evans family, I come before you to implore you to approve the rezoning request for 24 REZ-05 from O&I to R12 conditional. So why have I chosen to speak tonight? Well, my family's ties to Cary run deep and long. So my ancestors, Morris Evans, an indentured slave in 1654, came to America. I'm sure he could never have imagined the existence of the footprint that he would have, specifically here in Cary. His descendants, Frank and Nancy Marsh, held the marriage ceremony of Charlie and Matilda Evans in 1874 in their home, located on the very land that we discussed tonight, to be rezoned in the Dutchess Village. They went on to have 12 children, of which I am a direct descendant. They were both buried in the Turner Evans Cemetery, located just 3 football fields away from the Wesley Moore Manor site. Our family ties to the Dutchess Village area continues to this day, as I can walk around and see 14 streets that are named after my family. In Dutchess Village alone, there are 4. Tanisha, which is my older sister, Joel, who is my first cousin, Vermel, who is my great-great-great-grandmother, and Puff, which is actually my cousin's nickname. The land in discussion tonight has been specifically been owned by my family since 1992. You just heard from Mrs. Bowl, who read a letter of support for rezoning from the current owner of 232 High House, the property adjacent to Wesley Manor, and I wanted to add some additional context. The structure on 232 High House was built by my grandfather, Joseph Bailey, as a group home. My father actually helped work on that site when he built it, and before it was turned into a daycare and then later owned by Mr. Wong. When they separated the properties in 1993, it was all under common ownership. There was not an issue on the placement of the water and the gas lines. So as a part of my application, my father has agreed to move these at his own expense, a generous gesture that should not be overlooked. In closing, as the council considers the request, please be assured that as a representative of the Evans family, we are in full support of the residential plans proposed and encourage the council to vote in favor of approving the rezoning request for 24 REZ-05 from O&I to R12 conditional. As a land developer and a builder of 9 subdivisions developed, 5 of which are here in Cary, and over 140 homes built or renovated, 40 here in Cary, I think my father knows what he's doing. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jackie Lee. And then it was supposed to be followed by Robert Longo, but he's, okay. And then, so that would make our next speaker David Camp. And then George Bailey.
Good evening. It's indeed a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. My name is Hazel Jacqueline Lee, but first of all, as a retired teacher in the Wake County Public School system, on behalf of myself, my sister, and my cousin Linda Bailey, we would like to congratulate those young men and the young lady that was here tonight speaking, and we would like to say what a fantastic job you're doing, and keep up the good work. Again, my name is Hazel Jacqueline Lee, and I live at 520 Bay Oak Drive, and my sister is at 500 Bay Oak Drive. And we're just here tonight to say that we support Mr. Bailey's request to rezone his property to residential. And we too are descendants of the Charlie and Matilda heirs. So if there are any questions or anything, you have my contact information, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is David Camp. And then following Mr. Camp is George Bailey.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is David Camp. I live at 111 Thensia Court, which is in Dutchess Village. It's a little outside the area that was notices were sent. I've lived there for over 30 years, but I've lived in Cary since 1969. I've seen a lot of changes. Also worked for the town of Cary, zone code enforcement officer, first field officer we had back in the 80s. I know a lot about development. I've worked with development for the last 40 years of my life, most of it in the Triangle area. So this site is not commercially viable in any way. Anybody that knows about development knows this cannot be developed as O&I. The only hope that it has is to be rezoned residential so it can be developed. Otherwise, it will remain a vacant lot, like several others on the 200 block. The regulations have a purpose, and I agree with a lot of the streetscaping, interconnectivity, sidewalks, etc. But this property, as many others along that street, are not developable with the current standards, because these are infill lots. This is not out in Western Cary. These are lots, as you heard earlier, that were subdivided a long time ago. The dimensions on them do not work with the current regulations. I am so happy this is not going to be O&I, or I hope it's not going to be O&I. That'll be up to y'all, because that adds to more traffic as the business across the street does. So I hope that you consider this, and that consider the fact that with this, if it is rezoned, it has a chance to develop. If it is not, it continues to collect trash and other things, like the other vacant lots on High House. If you drive down from Chatham down through the 100 block and the 200 block, you will see abandoned houses or vacant lots, and they will stay that way. You know, so as somebody who knows about development, I want it to be developed. When somebody turns into my subdivision, I want them to see houses. I want them to see development. I want, nothing says it's better until it's sold out. It's exclusive then. And I understand the live policies, which the site meets. It also, the engage with the sidewalks and connectivity. The trail along High House Road, the one that's about 10 feet or 10 feet wide is what they want. An additional 10-foot easement in that area is sufficient to construct it, and I do know about construction. The next lot, you can forget about it. There's a drop-off, 30 feet. Take a huge retaining wall, tens of thousands of dollars, just for the next lot. Going up the hill, back east, it would require major redevelopment on multiple commercial lots that slope down from High House Road. So you're going to be filling the whole way. That connectivity is not, would be very expensive. So I understand the rules and why staff would push that issue, because I love the Greenway. We have a Greenway connection at the end of Bay Oak. Thank goodness. It's great. It connects us right up to Maynard Road and onto the Black Creek Greenway. The shape policies with the landscaping. The landscaping is important, but if you look on but the aerial view, you won't see a 50-foot buffer along any of those businesses along High House Road. You'll see either a 20-foot or a 30-foot streetscape buffer. And that's for a business. We're talking a house that would be on this lot. We're talking 50 feet of landscaping. It's going to be buffered. The owner's not going to be wanting to look at a 5-lane road. So that really becomes a moot point. The existing sidewalks are sufficient. I walk this area all the time. As I said, I've lived there for over 30 years. I know other residents. We want this. It's clear from the neighborhood, and we had our neighborhood meeting, there's no opposition to this. And I know exceptions are, I realize exceptions are not supposed to be the rule, and you don't like doing those. But when you have infill lots, such as this, it's really important to take a look at the regulations and what can be done to make this site better. You've heard from the neighbors. all around him, and me further down, and there's been no opposition.
Mr.
I think
Campbell,
this is,
sorry, I have
be a
to
good
interrupt
place.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, our next registered speaker is George Bailey.
David has sent you a communication, and I would love to see if I can get that read if possible. His letter to the council. Is it possible, Mr. Mayor?
It is part of the public record. It does not need to be.
I just want to make sure you read it. Okay.
Oh, we'll read it.
Okay.
Everything we get,
All right.
we read.
Mr. Mayor, I stand before you now, but before this, I stood before you in 95 to rezone this same property. And so now I'm trying to rezone it to something else. It was obvious to me that I can't use this property. And it's obvious to me that I can't use it using the LDO as the purpose for designing this property. And I would also like to thank Aaron for being patient, because I am a very determined, very, I would like to say passionate person about this land, since it's been in my family so long. And so with this in mind, I've chosen to design the features of this rezoning to accommodate 2 beautiful houses that I built before. And that's basically all I have to say. If there are any questions that the members would like to ask now, this is the place to ask it.
We may call on you later, but right now, this is your turn to speak, not ours.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
No additional registered speakers.
All right, if you're here in the audience and would like to speak at this public hearing, now's your opportunity. Anyone else to speak at this public hearing? Going to close the public hearing, and I'll provide my comments, and then I'll open it up to other council members. I agree that the use that was set for this land years ago probably doesn't apply anymore, so I think rezoning is probably a good idea. I just had some questions on what you said. They went by, and I'm like, did I hear this or this? So I'm going to ask you to repeat what you already said. There we go, my notes. The stream buffer comment, is that a dry stream bed? And DWQ says that's not an issue anymore. They're taking it out. What is that about the stream buffer?
And I can only speak to this from my expertise as a planner. I'm not a stormwater engineer. We do have a letter that the applicant provided, a very recent letter from DEQ, essentially saying that stream is not a buffered feature. So it appears that that's something, that's not that uncommon, that a stream buffer would be shown on our maps, and then once someone actually gets out and assesses it, sometimes they're not.
Tomorrow would be a good day to assess, if anybody wants to assess, because we're going to get a lot of rain. The Greenway dedication, I get the point of the drop-offs probably on both sides. So my question to staff is, do we still need that dedicated just in case those properties do build up and we do have, what is the staff take on that?
Right, so the trail doesn't exist today. There's a 5-foot sidewalk there that I believe is not quite in compliance with our full roadway widths map. That would be if any of these sites were to redevelop in the future, they would be required to put in that 10-foot wide street side trail. So we don't have one today, but just like we do with any project, we want to retain the right to have that network in the future. Part of the issue, and actually one of the speakers sort of alluded to this, there are some topography challenges. Obviously, staff has only seen this at a very high rezoning level. We don't have engineered plans yet to know exactly what that grade difference is. That typically means that we need a wider easement to do that construction, not a narrower one, because of the topography challenges. So that's where, just at a very high level with our transportation engineers looking at that, they estimated we probably would need more than the 10-foot that's offered to realistically construct it. Whether or not it is realistic due to the topography and everything else, we wouldn't know until we had engineered drawings.
Okay. Very good. You had a picture up, and I don't know which one it is, of the lots. Oh, there it is, the one that's there now. The lot to the left, if this one goes residential, the likelihood of that being office is extremely limited, I would think. It's probably extremely limited today. I'm just asking out of curiosity.
Yes, that site is actually developed. I can pull up an aerial, but I believe the building is
building there
currently
already.
vacant. There was a former daycare on that site, so it was developable in the past. Whether it would meet today's LDO requirements,
Does it meet daycare requirements today? Probably not.
probably not.
Yeah, so they
based on
probably
what we
couldn't
know.
have a daycare. Oh, there you go. That's what I'm looking
So there is a structure there. It could potentially be redeveloped for something. Someone might be able to reuse the existing structure.
Do you know how long that's been vacant?
I do not. We could find out.
Like years?
No, it was recent.
Okay, I'm just curious, trying to get everything out. Let's see. And the only other comment I would have is we pretty much predominantly deal with infill now. So Cary's about 85% built out. And it's just refreshing to see infill single-family proposals. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw single-family infill proposal. So I'm looking forward to see how this goes forward. So I'll open it up to my colleagues next.
All right, I have a slightly different perspective, but
Okay.
that's okay. First of all, I'd say today's public hearing illustrates the value of having a public hearing, because when I looked at this staff report, I was like, I really don't like when you take away and you do something incongruent, like putting the residential along a row of O and I. I would have preferred, like just blanket, I would have preferred to keep it O and I.
Okay.
And I actually am very sensitive, I mentioned this at a recent meeting, about it kind of like shoehorning in units in little tiny places that don't seem logical. But with the comments made at the public hearing, I'm like, okay, there's reason why it hasn't worked as it's in the current O and I. I will say, I think maybe our staff needs to look at this corridor and see if there needs to be some change. Special corridor in Jack's district on Walnut Street that has enabled that to be used for cottage office and so forth. So probably on a bigger scale, we need to be looking at that road again and the land use along there. Couple just takeaways. I don't know the difference because I haven't walked this site between the type A buffer on the west side versus undisturbed, which is how they defined it. So I don't know if it's so wooded, they're like, hey, why do we need to do anything? Or if maybe it should be a type A and they just need to go in and supplant it.
Yes, so, and they could offer either, part of the reason that they did an undisturbed buffer here, and sorry, I'm trying to pull the aerial back up. This is a fairly wooded site. It does appear to have a lot of mature tree canopy. The proposal initially came in, I believe it was with a 20-foot type B buffer. That's a much less densely planted buffer. So staff felt that there might be value then in not having them plant that, low of a requirement and just keep what's there, which appears to be healthy. Now, to your point, they wouldn't be supplementing it to a type A. But from past experience, our staff is also aware that 20 feet starts to get quite tight for a type A. So if it was a choice between the less densely planted type B or preserving what was there, we felt that that was a decent condition to preserve what was there instead of potentially planting a less dense type B.
Okay. I guess there's no in-between, that they couldn't just make a condition that they would maintain the existing vegetation and plant.
They could, yes, certainly they could offer additional plantings as a condition, and that's something that we could work with our urban forester to sort of assess what would fit and survive in that space.
I don't know where this was, but we had one situation where there was an undisturbed buffer, and then that buffer kind of grew up with weeds, and then the people are like, yeah, but it's undisturbed, I can't do anything, and then it just looked like an eyesore. So just kind of like a weird,
right,
kind of thing that could, unintentional consequences that could happen.
And if it helps, the conditions here, of course, are sort of summarized to make them shorter. It is noted in their condition that it is subject to the disturbances as allowed per the LDO. So if there was something like an invasive species that had to come out, something like that, I believe we could make an exception to have those things.
Okay. Is it just cleaner to just say type A, type B kind of thing?
It is.
versus undisturbed?
The only reason this was undisturbed is when they proposed a type B, we thought there might be more value in them considering just leaving it undisturbed.
Is type B a minimum? I mean, they wouldn't have to tear out trees to put in less,
Right, and they couldn't unless they were dying or they needed to extend a utility line or something like that.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, well, thank you for the great answers, but I don't know exactly how I feel about it.
That's fair. That's fair.
I do think that the right-of-way, I think all of the standards that we are requiring on High House Road for future road development should be applied. It's just, we just want to make sure we guard our future, and we don't have to come back and say, oh, we need these 5 feet, or we need this footage, and now it's going to encroach on your property, and we have a hardship situation. The condition, like, it's interesting, there's nothing that I saw in the conditions that states that these homes will be used for seniors or people with, that are vulnerable populations, but the comments suggest that.
Yes, there is no condition for that currently.
Okay. I mean, I guess my thought is like, when I was looking at it, I still wasn't sold that this was going to be single-family houses. I was still a little bit skeptical, thinking the better approach is to go in and figure out how we can make this whole corridor office and institutional. Then I softened when I heard, I was like, it could be for vulnerable populations, it could be for seniors, but then I was like, well, there's no condition in there. So as we've said over and over again, zoning goes with the land, not with the owner. So the owner might say, oh, I intend to do it, but then nothing. So I would recommend that if that's the intent, to actually say it, because that could be something that would differentiate my opinion on this whole property. I'm confused on a condition, Lisa, this is really for you, but Aaron, maybe you would answer too. Condition number 4 states, if the property is developed pursuant to NCGS 160D 802A 1 through 5 or C, the following.
Is that confusing?
Yeah.
Do you have those memorized?
Yeah, so I'm sure you have this memorized. The following landscape area shall be provided, blah, 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 blah. Why does it say it like that?
So it's what Aaron talked about at the very beginning, that this property could be exempt from our normal subdivision requirements. So that statute to NCGS, et cetera, is saying if they develop as an exempt subdivision, which is what those statutes allow, then they will provide the buffer, et cetera, et cetera.
Because if they weren't exempt, they would have to do certain things under, okay.
Right.
All right, that makes sense. And then there was no statement about a max number of units, but I presume it's 2 because.
It's based on
0.7,
size.
Right,
based on size.
dimensionally, we're aware that not
You
more
couldn't
than 2
have more
could
than
fit with
2.
that 12,000 square foot minimum lot size that's required.
Okay, that's what I figured. I think those are all my questions, but I do want to thank all of the speakers, the family, but also Mr. Camp for coming because it was enlightening.
Other
The
comments?
only question I had is, you had a side-by-side on proposed buffers versus the required under the existing zoning, which I'm assuming is exactly what Councilmember Robinson was saying, is if they didn't want to be here and they just wanted to go and do it themselves and subdivide it, put the 2 houses on it, here's where the buffers would be. Is that what that picture meant?
So that picture was actually a comparison of the existing zoning to what's being proposed. I do have a similar diagram of what the comparable residential would look like. Give me a second to toggle through, because the buffers do become different if it's a residential use versus a commercial use. This is sort of the difference. So you do get a wider buffer along the west is what would typically be required per the LDO, because that's, as you all have noted, you have a residential right next to an O&I use. There would not be a required streetscape on Bayo, because that's only required for a non-residential use. And you would have that wider 50-foot streetscape versus a 30-foot that they could do as a office and institutional site. So those are the main differences.
Right, that's exactly what I was looking for. Okay, so because the O&I one had a requirement for a sidewalk in front of it.
Correct.
But there is no sidewalk on that side
right.
of that street, so it'd be one of those sidewalks to nowhere, right?
Yes.
Which, that's not a good idea either. Although, it could be like McGregor, where, they come back to us later and say, we really wish you would have put a sidewalk in here, right? As more and more people walk. So I just wanted to see that. I do agree with Councilmember Robinson, is that I would really like to have the opportunity to have a street side trail longer term. especially as we are challenged with more multimodal, with people wanting to have safer routes to travel. There is, no separated bike lane on High House. It's, 2-lane median, without a median. We've had a fatality on High House with a bicycle, not a fatality, a set of critical injuries. So I think the opportunity, should we move forward, having that opportunity to create a street side trail for safer access would be something that I'd like to see. But I live within a mile, right, of this, and I ride it, I would say, at least three times a week. So I'm often looking at all the properties, and there are many. So I'm glad to see some infill, and considering that normally I would ask, well, what do the neighbors think? Well, the neighbors came and said, we really want this. And that makes a difference to me as well, especially with the larger landscaped area. There are a lot of homes that are along High House on the other side and along that area. Is it the perfect, I think I agree with Councilmember Robinson, we had this dream of it all being O&I, and I think what we're finding is that's not where we are. We also had dreams of office and institutional in Weston and nobody living there, and that's all shifted to add more residential. So I think this is just a shift and an evolution, and besides the additional street side trail length, I think it's an interesting idea, but I also agree with the having conditions. Should you want to do something specific there, then make it a condition.
Other comments?
My only concern was just staff saying that they would need 20 to 25 feet there. So I just would, at some point like to know if that's something that would work for the applicant.
My only concern is similar to what Mayor Pro Tem Robinson mentioned about the condition of what kind of housing is this going to be and for whom, if that's something that can be considered, as a condition, that would be appreciated. I also want to emphasize the importance of having this public hearing because I was very, very, I want to thank Ms. Alexander to really, sharing how deeply rooted your family ties are with Cary, and this is very heartwarming to hear your story and your great-great-great-grandfather, how they came here to Cary. So thank you so much for sharing that I enjoyed that thoroughly. And this is going to help with the zoning as well. It gives us a little bit context and background and history. Thank you so much.
Other comments?
I just got a couple. I want to ask about the street side trail, the greenway space, another way. Is 10 feet so woefully inadequate that it just cannot be done? Or, with the topography and the other challenges, or is it just going to be very difficult?
It's too early to know. What we do know is that 10 feet, and also given the fact that we're not getting right-of-way dedication, it will make it difficult. But that is something that we couldn't know really until time and development plan, when we understand all of the grades and the engineering and all that, which we normally don't have to worry about, because if not an exempt subdivision, the applicant would just build the trail. So this is one of the rare times we have to be concerned with it, and it's too early to know exactly what that right number is. We're just taking our best guess.
And the PRCR master plan, is this trail near future, far future, something that's, gee whiz, we hope to do it someday, or is it like in the planning, it's up next, it's up to bat soon?
It's just shown on the long-range plan. To my knowledge, there's no capital project that's funding that currently, so we would just be relying on redevelopment of this corridor to begin that process of building the trail, with the hopes that a less expensive capital project to fill in gaps could occur sometime in the future, but of course that could be years or decades away. We don't know.
With love in my heart for our greenway system, do we, and have we in the past, hindered a property owner's ability to develop land because of a future intent or hope to build greenways or street side trails.
If not an exempt subdivision, it's just a requirement that they build the street side trail, period. It's not unless for some reason there was a physical condition with the site that literally made its construction impossible.
Sure.
It would be required to be built. So it's only because this is potentially an exempt subdivision that they are not required to do it.
And at what point would we be certain that it is an exempt subdivision that meets the requirements in the NC statute?
So we know that if it's rezoned to R12 CU, based on the size of this lot, so anything that's 2 acres or less, that's dividing into 3 lots or fewer, is automatically exempt. So based on the size of this site and the fact that we know under R12 zoning, only 2 lots will fit here maximum, it could easily be an exempt subdivision.
So it becomes exempt at the time at which we approve the rezoning on it?
Essentially, yes. Under the existing zoning, they could choose to do under the proposed rezoning, they could choose to do an exempt subdivision.
Okay.
It would officially become exempt when they actually come in for development plan review and start recording plats.
Got it. Got it.
But this is setting that up to happen.
Okay. And it's not that I have any, issue with that happening. I just want to make sure I understand what the process is here. And as always, I'm still learning. It sounded as though the applicant intends to build one or both of the homes there as highly accessible and potentially universally designed structures. I'd be really, really thrilled to see that as a condition. I think that does, when we're considering making significant exceptions to the requirements that perhaps we would want to ensure, like the street side trail and such, and the buffers. And I understand why the buffers would be required and why they're called landscape, type A landscape and not type A buffer. But that, for me, sweetens the deal pretty significantly. I think any opportunity we have for universally designed properties and accessible properties is one that we should probably pounce on, for lack of a better turn of phrase. And lastly, I'm curious where the Alexanders, it sounds like the Evans family and potentially the Bailey family have revered ancestors built or buried very near there. Is there a cemetery that's nearby? It sounds like it might be pretty historically significant.
I'm not aware of the details, but I'm certainly happy to follow up with the applicant and find out more.
Yeah, and if it's something that the family would be interested in, I think it might be something that we could pursue to make sure it's preserved and honored. When I first joined council, actually, when I was working with the Historic Preservation Board, and they were talking about some of the, historic tours and things we could do for Historic Preservation Month, I learned about the families that are the foundation of Cary. And it sounds like this family is absolutely part of the foundation. So I'd like more people to know. You'd be surprised, but not thousands of people watch these meetings. So we're in a select few that are lucky enough to have this knowledge, and I'd like it to leave this chamber and the couple hundred that watch these meetings. I think it would be sometimes there's 500 or 600 views on YouTube. So I'm sure there's lots of people watching live right now and just wanting me to shut up on Facebook, so I'll stop there.
Other comments? We want to thank all of you for coming and speaking with us this evening. We really appreciate your comments. This is the second step in the process. First step was the neighborhood meeting. And the next step is the advisory board called the Planning and Zoning Board, and they're going to review it and see how it matches our Cary community plan. And they're going to make a recommendation to council, and then council will make a vote. And that will happen a few months from now. Until then, you're welcome to come and speak at every council meeting. You're welcome to contact us. But your best bet there is the lady standing at the podium, Erin Puckett. She's the liaison for us, and she has the latest and greatest information. And she'll be the one that can get you the answers quicker. So having said that, that ends our public hearings for the evening. We have no discussion items, and council needs to go into closed session, so I would entertain a motion to do so.
Pursuant to GS 143-318-11A1 and 3, I move that we hold a closed session to consult with attorneys employed by or retained by the town in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorneys and the town, and to prevent the disclosure of information that's privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of the state or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the general statutes.
There's a
Second.
motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The council will go into closed session. After closed session, we intend to come in and adjourn the meeting. Council has concluded its business. This meeting is adjourned.